Thanks for tuning into this earnings conversation. There is a lot of interest in IT companies' results these days after what both TCS and Infosys did. And the infeed backdrop or backlash was felt by the entire IT space on Monday. Out came Mindtree with a fifth straight quarter, if I'm not wrong, of 5% plus constant currency growth and brought a little bit of life back into that IT space. Venu Lambu is here to talk about the quarter gone by, the year gone by, and arguably the year ahead. Venu, great having you. Thanks for joining in and welcome to India. Hope all is fine.
Oh, thank you, Neeraj. Great to be here. Yeah, everything is fine. Thank you.
Super. It looked in the quarter as well, Venu. I mean, there can always be some things which I'll, of course, ask you about. But overall, you were pleased with the quarter? If I'm not wrong, the fifth straight quarter, as I said.
No, absolutely, Neeraj. It's been a phenomenal year. In fact, at the beginning of the year, when I did my internal strategy meeting, I was talking to the team saying, look, this year could be either a good year or a great year. So it's up to us and our customers to see whether we can make it a great year. I think it is a phenomenal year. I'm very happy that we also closed the fourth quarter, with the same amount of momentum that we carried throughout the year. Right. So, yeah, overall, it's great. Revenues are, profits is good. Our EPS has gone up. Dividend is one of the highest in the history of Mindtree. So, yeah, I mean, for all the stakeholders, it's a very happy year.
Yeah, I was looking at the internals for the quarter, and you may correct me, but I think other than UK and from a geography perspective and maybe retail from a segment perspective, most other things came out as well.
See, even UK, over a year on year, it has grown more than 50%, right? So, it just on a quarter sequential basis, it is a bit, slow, if I may say. But if I look at it from an overall year perspective, across all geographies, across all sectors, have delivered, beyond their plan, beyond their budget, and that's one of the reasons why we have year-on-year growth of 30% plus at a company level.
The mind obviously moves to what can happen. I mean, you would have a phenomenal year. So 2 or 3 things. One, that the base effect probably comes into play at some point of time, if not now. 2, most reports seem to believe that by the high standards that you've set, the deal wins, and I know we talk about it every quarter, but most reports said that the deal wins were a bit sluggish. So that is part 2. And the worsening macro, if you will, Venu, which probably will have a direct impact on how clients or how much clients outsource and what kind of pricing do they accept. Can you talk a bit about all of these 3?
Sure. Look, firstly, in terms of order booking, as we close Q4, it is actually higher than Q3, right? And even on a year-on basis, it is 16% plus basis. So we have a good order booking as we get into the Q1 of FY23. Now, what, in my view, would change in terms of demand outlook from compared to the FY22 or compared to the last year is, I do believe that there will be a significant demand coming in for the cost-saving kind of solutions, right? There is a headwinds with regard to the inflation. There is a headwinds with regard to the the finance cost to the business and so on, which is different than what it used to be over the last 2 years. So hence, while the clients wants to continue to do their digital transformation and accelerate the revenue maximization mandate, they also want to push the envelope in terms of savings, of everything that they can do, right, from their products to services and everything. And so, as long as we have the ability to address both the cost-saving mandate and the revenue maximization mandate, I think we have a headroom to continue the same amount of growth momentum as we get it, at least in the near term. In the near term, I'm very optimistic, to be honest. It's very difficult to talk about Q3, Q4, for the full year sitting so early in the year. But at least in the near term, I'm fairly optimistic.
And this optimism is a factor of what clients are telling you about the work that you've been doing as of now, or are you factoring in that optimism the newer kind of deals that you just spoke about?
Well, it's mix of both. One is the kind of conversation that we are having with customers, and we have a pretty good visibility of the kind of spend that they're going to do and the kind of spend they're going to cut as well, right? And so, the good news is that at the beginning of the year, I said, look, we will focus on 100 accounts, so that we deepen our relationship. We add more value to those set of customers. And actually, if you look at it, we did 90% of our revenue from our top 100 customers. And the advantage with that approach is that you are very close to the customer thinking process. You are actually sitting on the table, advising them or consulting them. In some cases, you also take steer from them, right? So it's a partnership in action. And when the partnership is in action, you tend to get a better visibility, than a transactional view. So hence, that actually brings on optimism in the near term for me.
Okay, and leaving UK out, the other mainland European countries, is there, and the clients thereof, is there some, how do I say, sluggishness in the conversation because of what's happening between Russia and Ukraine, or not quite?
See, it depends. If you look at within continental Europe, the Scandinavian region, the Nordics region, I don't see anything impact due to the conflict as such, right? I mean, the business is as usual by and large, right? So I don't see any impact on that. Now, when you come to the dark area, which is the German and the Swiss area, look, there are companies which are impacted because of their presence either in Ukraine or in Russia. Our customers' presence in those geographies. So those customers have certain headwinds in terms of the way they want to address their revenue challenge or their cost challenge. So that's, I think it sort of varies from the sector to sector within those geographies. But at least in the near term, I haven't seen a material impact. In fact, I do see a sort of a sense of opportunity there, where we can help our customers either in terms of disaster recovery, BCP, cyber security. These are the areas that there is an increased interest to us as well. But at least in the near term, I don't see any signals of a material impact for our business.
Okay, and when just one quick question, it may not have a direct bearing for Mindtree or whatever, but I'm just still inclined to ask you. The last 2 months, all conversations that I have with companies, non-IT companies, the optimism and commentary from companies in the energy space, in the agri space, agri exporting or otherwise, and commodities at large for the last 12 months seems to be very high. Now, maybe these are sectors that hitherto haven't seen good fortunes. They may not have been spending too much on IT. Do you sense at all that some of these sectors could actually be showing green shoots and talks of optimism and maybe larger contracts for IT outsourcing companies?
Look, Mindtree doesn't do much business in the energy sector, so it's very difficult for me to get a visibility of what's happening on the sectors. But in general speaking, look, the energy prices are going up in the western part of the world, and that's really the biggest cost with regard to the cost of living expenses for the common people. So energy companies have to innovate in terms of keeping their costs down, right? In terms of how much they buy and how much they supply. So given in that context, I'm not surprised, with their increased spend on technology to address their cost-saving mandate.
Okay. Now I was actually trying to figure out if they are actually talking to you. Forget energy, but others are probably getting into a conversation with you guys for more contracts because they all seem to be making money. But yeah. I take on board your point. The one question that I have is the significant employee addition right now. Typically, that would be a prequel to what you believe would be a strong outlook. And here I have you telling me that for now you're only looking at the first couple of quarters and not looking beyond that. Well,
when I say I'm looking at a couple of quarters, this was in the context of the question that you asked, how optimistic I am on the continued growth momentum. And the answer is yes, I'm optimistic in the near term. But, the world is fairly dynamic the way it sort of reacts on various parameters. So it's very difficult to put an outlook commentary on the long term. But, at least in the near outlook commentary, sitting where we are in April, I'm optimistic about it.
No, sorry, the only reason why I asked that to you is because, again, most reports suggest that the kind of employee addition that you've done bodes very well for the whole FY23 outlook, which is why I was asking you.
Oh, yeah. Look, yes, it does. It sets up a great foundation, right? I mean, 11,000 plus additions so throughout the year is a great addition and foundation. But I think we should still continue to, our plan is to continue to hire more, whether it's a freshers or our Edge program across different science disciplines. And also the lateral hires. So look, we are not stopping, the hiring. In fact, I'm actually pushing the engine more there. So
awesome. And what about attrition, Venu? I mean, that is inched up though. When do you think it plateaus, or is it possible to predict that also?
Well, it's difficult. There are different points of views on that. Look, the first challenge I would say for the industry is to get at least sizable workforce back to office. right? And that also has an impact in terms of culture, collaboration, sort of a format of association with with the cross functional teams and so on. And again, it's very difficult to put a timeline, but these are the things that we have to keep a close eye on and see how, whether working from home or working from office, hybrid working model, will that help sort of contain the attrition, one. And second is, as long as we have a growth story and we have very interesting programs that and skill sets that employees can learn and sort of have their career progression, these are also the challenges, right? I mean, the growth can solve a lot of problems. So I firmly believe that the more we grow, it will solve even attrition problem. It's just that it may take time, but everybody would love to be associated with the growth agenda.
But difficult to put up kind of a timeline to it, right? It's kind of becoming unpredictable. Okay, what about margins though? It's not a problem for you, but can growth solve that? Not a problem really, but that piece, will you maintain it at about this circa 19-odd%?
Yes, that's been consistent commentary if you look at it, and yeah, I mean at a EBITDA level, that's a commentary that we always maintain. 20% kind of an EBITDA is what we have been saying. At the moment, I don't see any reason to change that, but I'm not ignoring the fact that there are headwinds, right? There are cost of hiring is definitely increased, right? And we have to see how the on-site offshore mix evolves in the year, right? Whether there'll be more nearshore, more on-site. So we don't know those things how it evolves, but at the moment, our endeavor is to keep it the same goal and work towards that goal. Right. So, yeah, I think as long as we continue to deliver growth, and also there are areas where we can ask some premium pricing for our customers, right? So, if you're focused on growth, add value, get the right pricing for the right skill sets, I think we'll have stand a very good chance of meeting our margin goals.
Okay, Venu, any truth to this whole conversation around a potential merger? It was long spoken about before, then put on the sidelines, if you will. Now the stories come back.
Neeraj, I don't know, right? And it's very speculative in nature, so I don't want to comment anything on that at the moment. I mean, there's nothing that I can comment on that, to be honest.
Okay. No, the only reason why I'm kind of asking you this is because I didn't see a denial from either Mindtree or LTI. It was saying that it is speculative in nature. A non-denial, the market typically takes that, oh, the companies are not denying, which means it must be true.
Well, it is speculative in nature, so I would still keep the same.
No, I understand you can't even probably comment on it, but fair call. But great show, Venu, for the quarter and for the year. Keep up the good work, and thank you so much for speaking to us today.
Thank you, Neeraj. Thank you for talking to me.
That was ours. And viewers, thanks for tuning in.